What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Chris, as always with me, Liam. And today we are discussing Invincible Season 3, Episode 6. Before we do, a little bit of housekeeping. If you're just tuning in for the very first time, go ahead, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another episode. We drop multiple videos a week. We cover things like Paradise, Invincible like you are here for today, Reacher, Mayfair Witches, which is about to wrap up their second season. We have a very honest review of that you can go check out, as well as our Patreon. You guys were asking for more access. You wanted to be more involved in the conversations behind the scenes and really get earlier access to some stuff. And so we created a Patreon for you, which directly helps us with creating these videos and gives you exactly what you wanted. So for as little as a cup of coffee, you can hit the link below and join Patreon, become a member of the community, and really help with the production of these videos. So with all that being said, weird word there at the end, let's dive in to this episode.
I thought this episode was pretty much a waste, in my opinion, until the last 5 seconds.
So from a viewer standpoint, I totally can get how that would be. However, if you have any idea of the comics, then you know that we got introduced to one of the more iconic and memorable villains from the comics itself.
Okay.
Powerplex is an iconic one. He's a memorable one. His arc, the way he plays out, as you saw part of it in this episode, they took a lot of liberties with his whole story. It does track the same, but there are definitely differences that happen. But yeah, I thought it was a great way to show you how the quest for revenge, or even the quest for heroism to protect those you love, or to, make sure that those you love are safe, can be very quickly corrupted. And that it was a great example multiple times throughout this episode. As he's trying to fight Mark or get Mark to fight him, he's literally doing the exact thing he wants Mark to die for. Like, he's doing that thing. He's becoming Omni-Man and beating up Mark, which was exactly what was happening to Mark when his sister died. And so I thought that was a kind of a nice way of showing us that it really is just that quest for revenge is really dig two graves. And also it was really cool to finally see Powerplex come to the screen.
He's not impressive to me.
His powers aren't. I mean,
no, the character itself, I don't know what you're referring to with his whole giant arc and how he's this cool supervillain and stuff like that, memorable and all that. I'm more interested in Angstrom Levy.
I think you're going to be thoroughly disappointed then. Sorry to break it to you, man, because you're focusing on one specific character and its arc. And I'm telling you right now, the villains in the Invincible universe are pass-bys. The arcs and the way they happen are just going to disappoint you because they're going to happen so quickly. So
that's unfortunate, because I just realized in this episode that he's just become one of the Watchers from Marvel.
Who?
Angstrom Levy. With one specific person in mind.
I would disagree.
No?
Because the Watcher doesn't influence. He doesn't directly.
They do in What If.
Correct. Yeah. If you were to remove yourself from actual Marvel canon and go into a What If universe, then yes, 100%. Anything can happen there. It's What If.
Well, we watched the What If stuff. We never reviewed it, right? But in What If, it shows the Watcher intervening quite a bit. And it feels very much the same and very similar character. Maybe it's a giant freaking skull too, the head. I don't know. But that's what I was getting for the first time, was vibes like that.
Okay.
Especially when we have all these other multiversal. Is that the word?
No,
you made that up. Okay. Multiverse people.
Yeah.
Versions of Mark.
Yeah, I mean, and
some of them look fucking cool, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are some really awesome, alternatives to him. And awesome as in, sinister, badass, cool looking. That's what I mean. All of them are freaking evil, so, I mean, they're going to be different than the Mark we know. Mm-hmm. As we were introduced to in, beginning Season 2, Episode 1, right? We saw a variant of Mark who was evil. which is like the beginning of us understanding Angstrom Levy's power and like what he really goes through. But I want to bring it back because if we just focus on Angstrom Levy, we're only going to have a 2-minute conversation.
I was going to bring it back to Oliver in the training. I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah, so, we're getting a little bit of a nod back to Mark's own training, right? Omni-Man used Elephant to train Mark. Mark's using Elephant to train
Like, come on. He's like a fucking brain.
Yeah, and I would agree with you that as a super villain, Powerplex is nothing special. He can't kill Mark. He's never going to pose like a evident threat to any true powerful superhero. But I like when you read the comic, and I thought they did a pretty good job of doing it in the show. They really bring you in emotionally to his journey and like what he's going through, because he starts off as an everyday guy whose life is completely destroyed by superheroes. But instead of, finding ways to cope with that in a, I guess, healthy way, he goes way off the deep end and goes straight for like, he wants everything to do with revenge, right? Finds a way to use his powers to boost himself up, does everything he can to try to kill him, and ultimately, as we saw in this episode, takes everything he had left for himself. And so I think for me personally, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. That's why he's so impactful, right? We have Doc Seismic. We have other names are slipping in my head right now, but we have a lot of other villains whose like stories are pretty kind of like whatever. And Mark beats them pretty quickly, and it just gives us something to watch Mark grow and kind of compare his powers to, and maybe some comic relief. But with, I think it was like, with the exception of that like little silent montage that we had with the two villains in the beginning of that one episode, was like an actual reflection of like a character growth and emotional growth in a villain, which I think was great.
I appreciated the fact that it showed his whole character arc in a very short period of time, but to me, it felt irrelevant.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I was just too tired when I woke up this morning. But
what did you guys think down in the comments? And have you read the comics? I think that might be the differentiating factor here, is that, and that might it's the number one reason why we struggled with Mayfair, is we didn't have context, right? And so I have a context that you don't have. And so I'm getting to see characters brought to life that I already know, where you're just like, who is this guy and what's the point of him?
Yeah, he feels like filler.
Yeah. And like I said, for someone without that context, that can make sense. But let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think that Donald is working with Mark behind back of the GDA?
Yep, I do.
Okay.
I think that's specifically because of the doubts that he had in the past when he regained his memories. So that's what I think has a big piece of it, because before that point, he was just a blind, loyal follower. Did whatever was asked, no questions, right? Now he questions a lot of things. We don't see it as much, and he plays a much smaller role behind the scenes in the show right now. But I do see him as being this gap to bridge with Mark. But I'm not sure if Cecil is having him do it intentionally.
Yeah, because that's where, removing any other, and going just to the show, I would struggle with Cecil knows everything. Like that's what he does, right? He's like master spy, master espionage. He's got technology. Like he knows everything. He prides himself on knowing everything he can, right? And that's military intelligence, right? So for him to have like his right-hand man giving government secrets to Mark to help Mark along without Cecil knowing about it, to me, either Cecil knows about it and he's letting Donald do it without Donald being aware that Cecil knows, or he's directly having Donald do it. I don't think there's a universe. It's not the universe we're watching right now where he's that blind to what Donald is doing. Plus, Donald's like mostly robot, so he can track everything he does.
True.
Yeah.
So we also got to see a little bit more of Rex and what's her name? Chick with the glasses.
That's her name is Ray. Ray, who is a female for the show, but a male. And
yeah, I remember you saying that. But we've got her leaving and Rex just almost breaking down, where he's like, this is all I know.
Yeah, we got confirmation and more context on his actual backstory, right? In previous episode, he mentions that his parents sold him to the government and he's been trained to be a superhero, abused to be a superhero his whole life. And this, we got like him like breaking down and actually like confirming like, hey, do you even know my last name? Because I only know it because of like everything was washed from my life. I only know it because I remember it. Right? Like they completely got rid of who I was and turned me into this.
This is my identity.
This is me. Yeah. What I thought was kind of a heartfelt moment with Rex there. And all of this is brand new because, spoiler alert, if you're going to read the comics, I'm going to ruin something about the Shrinking Ray character for you. But in the comics, he doesn't come back from being eaten by Komodo dragon. When he tries to grow again, everything breaks and he just dies. In this one, she survived and they bring her back to life. And she even talked about it in this episode. She had a lot of time to think while her bones were weaving themselves back together. Right? What an image. What an image.
Having my spinal injury, it just makes my skin crawl like that much worse. Then we also have like Monster Girl getting a belt.
Yeah.
Is that from the comics as well?
So yes, one of the things in the comics is that Robot or Rudy is in love with Monster Girl. That's the real thing. And he does kind of like sympathize and feel bad for her and like look for a way to like reverse her curse for her. But that's just kind of filler for right now, right? We see that happen and that's all we get from that.
I still question whether he's doing it out of the goodness of his heart or if he's still just trying to get in her pants sort of thing. Because he's in love with her. Right?
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be with him because she thinks it's creepy.
She does think the aspects of him are creepy. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and the fact that, but I wouldn't, little girl that's another piece of it.
Yeah.
When she got to that age where he's kind of like, ooh, little girl, I like you. That I don't think
That's how it went down.
I felt that when I was watching, I was like, oh, that's so cringy.
Okay. I don't think that's his outlook on her. I don't think he's like, ooh, little girl.
No, I think it was more because she looked the age he looked. That's why
He creates that body and that age for her. He does all of that because he loves her.
It's fucking creepy to me.
He was still just the gelatinous thing floating in the tub when he falls in love with her. He's a robot.
I've got this. It's really difficult for me to be okay. I get that they're way older mentally, but physically, they're both not way older. And that just disgusts the hell ahead.
Okay. I think like they're making you watch them do it. They're just showing you that they love each other.
I know. But with the boys, in my mind, nothing is off limits with them.
Invincible is an animated version of The Boys, if you want to look at it that way. It's a spin-off on superheroes, which has no limit to how far it will go.
That's my point. That's why my mind automatically goes to the most fucked up place possible with that.
But what I will say is that, just like The Boys, Prime is never going to give us the true comic book, like down dirty, raunchy version of what really happened.
Wait, the comics are even worse than
They always are.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, always. Which I will say is that like I give Prime a lot of credit on this. They push the envelope with The Boys, with Invincible, with Gen V, with all the things that they do take on the projects. They are willing to toe the line quite a bit, but still, nothing compares to the source material. Like that's some real diabolical shit.
All right, so getting back to this episode at hand, we also have Oliver getting possibly a new stepdaddy.
Yeah, though that's interesting. He's not a big character in the comics, not at all. No, like I mean, he's there. He's definitely a character from it, but he's not big. He starts dating Debbie, like he's involved, but he's not like trying to be the dad like he is in this one. He's all like, I can't relate, and like all this like dad stuff. I'm like, okay, so I think what they're doing is they're doing what they're doing with Shrinking Ray. And they're giving people like, they're extending people's stories and giving them more of like a plot, like more of a storyline, so that people have romantic ties, right? So Debbie has her man now, and it's more of a family unit, more connected. It feels more like something we would understand. Rex is not all alone because Eve and Kate are now doing their own things. He actually has somebody. Otherwise, he would be just stuck with Robot and a bunch of like old dudes, like in that freaking, well, he does. Bulletproof's pretty young. But everyone else is like Immortal's super old, Black Samson's super old, like Shape Smith's freaking weird as hell. Like he doesn't really have anybody else to hang out with.
Yeah, we got to see Shapesmith in action.
So funny.
Nobody,
This note, not my skin.
nobody knew who he was.
Well, yeah. He thinks he's like a big superhero, but he's just like the newest addition to the team that no one knows. Yeah. And he's like the worst at acting human, which is like over the top, just silly.
That's the part I appreciate.
Yeah. That's the good stuff. You know, and then we actually got to see Eve, and like, just, she's so powerful. Like, the way that he was able to like break through some of her like shields, I thought that was kind of like maybe she was just using like 1% power or something. Because like, when she's OP, like she's an OP superhero. So like when she really wants to like create force fields or create armor or do something crazy, like it's strong. So I thought it was kind of interesting, but we got to see her toss with him a little bit long enough for the Guardians to show up and actually apprehend him, right? So thought it was cool to actually see Eve. Even action's fun. Her fighting is fun.
Yes. I'm just happy I got to see that weird, cool armor.
That was last episode, yeah.
Yeah.
When her and the Invincible team up to fight, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And we only got it for that brief little thing. I searched forever to find that clip just so I could use it for the thumbnail because of how cool I thought it was, even though it played such the tiniest role in it.
Yeah. It was definitely a highlight of that episode for sure to see it. So as you mentioned, like this episode was a lot of story, a lot of backstory, a lot of context, a lot of filler, as you would call, with having a new villain introduced and his whole arc played out. It's not the last time we'll see him, as we know, because in the end of the episode, he's very clearly says, I'm going to come get you. So we know it's not the last time we're going to see him. But as you did mention, this episode closes out with fire, with an explosion of the mind, if you will, because we finally get to see not just the floating ball, not just the silhouette of Angstrom. We get to see Angstrom in all his rebuilt bloody glory after Mark almost killed him. And now we get to see what his real plan is. He's been traveling the multiverses, building an army of evil Marks to take down Invincible, which is the arc of the Invincible War, is what we call it.
Okay.
Inside the comics, which is one of the good ones.
As someone who's read the comics, do you think these little tweaks that you've had in the adaptation for TV has improved it or hurt it?
That's the thing I gotta say with Invincible as a series, if they do a damn good job of not disappointing. Yes, is it different? Yeah, are there characters missing for licensing reasons? Do they take liberties with certain characters like Shrinking Ray? Yeah, 100%. But does it take away from the story? Does it make it bad? No, I think it's great. I think they take these little liberties and make it uniquely Prime's, which they need to for, again, licensing reasons and stuff, but I enjoy every episode, and I have not, as a fan, not just of the show, but of the books, I'm not been disappointed yet.
Good to know. I just want to see the other Invincibles, and I'm curious to know whether they have slightly different variations of the powers. And that's what I'm curious.
I won't ruin, if you're curious, I ain't gonna ruin any of that for you because I want it to be that thing like, you're like, oh, that's cool. But what I will say, and let me go, like this is probably, something that you guys could definitely weigh heavily in on because this is all opinion at this point. There's no like, this is from the book, this is from the series. We only have 2 episodes left. And we have one of the most important, largest arcs, I guess not the most important, but one of the larger arcs of Angstrom Levy coming. We all know it, we saw it at the end of this episode. So clearly, Angstrom's going to attack. We have that to look forward to next episode.
Do we?
We have to, because here's what's going to end up happening. Either we watch the Invincible War play out over these next 2 episodes, and then it closes the season out with one of the big bads showing up, and then we open up the next season with that, or they cram the entire Invincible War into 1 episode and then speed run it so that they can get right into the big bad showing up, and that's the finale.
See, I was thinking the bad guy's going to show up and that's the finale.
We will see. Because what's the big bad? Is the big bad Northern Marks? Is the big bad what we've been fearing coming from space all this time? Like, what is the big bad?
Well, they're alluding to the big bad being Angstrom Levy with a bunch of other Marks.
But that's not the big bad the GDA is planning, that's been training and planning for and building defenses for this entire season. They're planning for some sort of Viltrum attack.
Don't know.
So that's what I'm interested to see is like, if you've got these two looming bads, one from multiverse, one from space, which one, or are we going to see both? Are we like, how are we going to see that play out? And is it going to be the first time I'm disappointed because you're trying to take something that's so massive and so awesome and fit it into such a tight space?
You don't think they'd need a full season for the Invincible War saga? No.
I don't think so. But they would need at least 2 episodes.
Okay, that's why I was in my head, because you know already what the war is about and all that.
They're gonna cut stuff out.
I get that. What I'm saying is, from someone who's never seen or read this before, is what I meant to say, is typically when they'll do seasons, they'll like give you this biggest cliffhanger, as we always see, and to me, I'm just afraid that the cliffhanger is going to be, oh, wait, other marks are just showing up now. And that's my concern.
I have a feeling, and again, this is just my suspicion, that what Prime is going to do is give us all of Invincible War in one episode and then give us the next big... Because in the comics, that's what happens. It's like he doesn't even get a chance to breathe from one thing, and then the next thing happens. So he doesn't get a chance. Like, it's constantly happening to him, right? And so he never really gets a chance to breathe and like figure shit out because like there's always something coming.
Kind of wish we got that in this episode. I'm sorry. This is the first one I've been truly disappointed in.
See, I disagree because to see Powerplex come on, to see his arc, to see like the battle of all of that, I thought was cool. So, but in comparison to like some of the big fights coming, I could see the difference.
Last episode, we had so much cool shit, right? And then this episode just felt like the letdown to me. That's all.
Okay.
But I hope that they fix that next episode.
I have a feeling no one will be disappointed in what happens in the next episode. It's going to be awesome. If you guys know what's going to happen, don't spoil it in the comments for everybody else, but also just let us know you're excited down below. Thank you for being here all the way to the end of this particular discussion on this video. If you really enjoyed it, we actually have reviewed the entire season so far. You can check them all out right here, as well as some other awesome stuff that Prime is airing. We really love Prime. They really pushed the boundaries that we said. You can check it out right there. And then we also have something that YouTube says you're really going to love right above my head. But as always, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and do so. Hit the notification bell. If you're looking to get more access to us for a little cup of coffee, you can become a member, and it really helps us out greatly with video production and getting these things out to you guys with high quality. So with that being said, my name is Chris.
Liam.
And we'll see you on the video.
Find the strength hiding in each battle scar. You're not who you were, you've already come far.